What's up, everybody? Welcome to Hot Dip. We are joined today by the legendary Jay Thompson, JT's Woodworking. How you doing today, sir?
Good, good.
Awesome. So, woodworking, you are very talented. And we're very honored and blessed in this community to have had Stephen Giese, and then you're following that up. And what got you into woodworking? What got you interested?
Uh, in high school, I took a liking into the woodshop class. I think my parents always got on to me about the lumber bill, because I was really interested in doing things, and then it kind of went dormant for a little while. Uh, when I graduated, I was interested in coaching high school basketball and teaching. And then as I started doing some little assistant coaching in college, I kind of needed a job that like worked with my hours, and I started Greg Spicer was someone I reached out to. He was building a cabin, and asked him if he wanted some rustic furniture, if he'd give me a shot, and he did, and kind of went from there.
And he's been great for the community, hasn't he, Greg?
Oh yeah, yeah, he's fantastic, and still do stuff for him today, and yeah, great person.
Awesome. Well, before we get into all the meat and potatoes of the conversation, tell us about the showpiece you did for us here. What are we looking at?
Yeah, so this is walnut burl. A guy had it shipped in from California, and I cut it in a couple pieces and poured some epoxy resin with some black pigment in it, which is why you have the waviness in it. Um, as soon as I came in here and Stacy showed me or kind of told me what you were wanting, it kind of just started to come to my mind. I thought it would accent well with the black and the wood here, and then you have to go with galvanized steel underneath, of course.
Now, where on earth did you find a galvanizer around here?
Right, and it came back as clean as can be.
The folks out there do remarkable work. We're very blessed to have them on the team.
Yeah, Ray sent me some video and all, and I videoed all this, so we're hoping to actually drop a YouTube video on it. So
Can't wait to see that. Let us know. We'll link to it and all that good stuff.
absolutely.
And you grew up in a big family, right? Like the six of you growing up in that house?
Yep, six of us, and yeah, girl, boy, girl, boy, girl, boy. Just how mom and dad pointed it out, I guess. And
That's right.
yeah, so I've been blessed in that way. My mom and sister are both into coaching, is why I was interested in it. Which Abby teaches now. That's my younger sister. Trace is a research agronomist. Obviously Cody worked for Monty for many years, and then that set him up, and he runs his own trucking business now. So yeah, I used to work for Monty too, in high school, and my dad worked here for how many years?
Decades.
Yeah, decades. So yeah, we've been around.
Yeah, very, very honored to have the Thompson family here in Glasgow and with our business. You guys have helped us out tremendously. And we lost your dad recently, and I can't imagine how hard that was on your family. We miss him. He's one of my favorite people of all time, and unfortunately didn't get to enjoy that retirement that he deserves. So, but man, he's such a remarkable person, and you guys must be very proud of your father.
Oh yeah, I mean, he had everything you ever wanted. He's very simple. He just wanted a big family, go to church, and I don't know, the day he passed was his last day here, right? And I don't know, part of me is like, he talked about retiring. You probably heard him talk about it for how many years,
Right?
and he just didn't know what he was going to do. So in a way, it's like he did, yeah, had no idea what he was going to do. But yeah, no, I mean, we were blessed to have him. Um, I really can't say enough good things about him. And I feel like I'm doing him a disservice by not finding the words for him, I guess. But yeah.
Just the way you live your life and your siblings and your mom, Becky. I know he's so proud of you guys. I mean, you could just tell every time he talked about you guys, he'd light up. And he should be. You guys have done amazing things with life, and I guarantee you he had a role to play in that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. He's biggest supporter. Well, when I was coaching basketball, I mean, in Jamestown, they drive an hour, come watch the amount of ball games he saw after, working a long day and coming home and doing that. And he might miss some because he was working late. Uh, the most selfless person I've ever met by far. Just again, simple. He just didn't need a whole lot, and he was all about giving. You know, he he taught me that it's no matter what it is, it's not a big deal. I remember getting so worked up about certain things growing up, and then God just over here monotone, and never got worked up too much. Every now and then, I mean, we could get him worked up,
Mhm.
but yeah, no, he's yeah, great.
Absolutely. He served his country too, right?
Yes, he was an X-ray tech. Uh, yeah, that's always just mind-boggling to me because if you knew Dad the last 20 some years, I mean, any sort of tech word, anything, no.
Mm.
I mean, I know when you guys went to the electronic logs and it's just trying to figure that the e-log or trying to figure that out. But yeah.
Several things running your family. You talked a little bit about coaching and your draw to coaching your moms and your sisters. But so sports. Did was your dad? I never had asked him this. So was he into sports? Was he an athlete?
Yes, he was very athletic. I was told like high jump and track and stuff. And I really probably couldn't go into too much detail, but I know like back then, they lived right outside town here in that hill going up. I think it was kind of like with grandpa back in the day, like, well, you can play sports, but you're going to walk there and walk back. So, I mean, you had hard going, but yeah, no, I was told he's very athletic. Obviously my mom, a softball player and
Mhm.
everything. So, we got that part going for us.
You bet. And your mom, does she still coach track?
Yep. Still doing it. Still doing it. Loves it. I mean, I don't think, uh, I think she kind of piddled with a little bit of retirement, but I think she might step back a little bit, not from the coaching part, but from all the extra other stuff she does at the school. But she's just a busybody. She's got to stay busy.
She's done it for a long time.
She's done it for a long time. It's one of those things she wouldn't know any different.
They've really had some good track athletes over the years out here too, haven't they?
Oh, yeah, Glasgow track has been, I mean, amazing. And it just seems like every year it's evolving. They're always, competing in state, sending all kinds of athletes. I remember being in school and, you know, from long, hot days that some teams almost had an advantage because we had so many events, so many athletes and so many different events, to where, we didn't have that one event or two events or whatever. But yeah, so yeah, very fortunate around here to have a lot of athletes.
That's right. So when you were coaching or thinking seriously that might be your life's path, what were the sports that were standing out to you? What were your favorite sports?
Basketball, by far. I really had no interest in coaching much else. I mean, I did my part. I actually student taught at Salisbury, so I was assistant baseball coach with Nate King over there for a year. I coached junior baseball was my first ever coaching gig, and then we did some fifth and sixth grade basketball, seventh, eighth grade basketball, and then yeah, then I coached high school varsity basketball at Jamestown for 3 years.
Did you enjoy it?
Oh, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I think probably I'm assuming the next question is why wouldn't you still do that if you loved it? The decision one, I just wanted to be closer to Glasgow, and and money kind of talks too a little bit.
You kind of need some of that.
Yeah, and I do I love what I do now.
You're amazing at it.
I appreciate that, and so it's less stressful too, now that I kinda got a hang of things. With basketball, your next game, and I felt like I never took the time to enjoy the wins. So, yeah, I mean, it comes down to money, wanting to be near Glasgow. I'd say that was the biggest reason for my decision, going that way.
Now, I'd assume based on your age that when you played for Coach Crop. Is that
Oh,
right?
yeah, yeah.
So tell me about Coach Crop, and we're gonna get him in here. I can't wait for that day. I hope you're watching this, Mick. We want to get you in here and hear all your stories. But what kind of a coach was Coach Crop? Would you say you were similar in the way you approach coaching or not?
Um, yeah, definitely I mean, I know coach watching one of my when he said our game at Slater, said that this looked like you guys playing because of everything we were running and everything we were doing. But I probably had which I think maybe that's just being younger, a shorter temper or a shorter temperament, whatever. But he was he was just so good at connecting with us. Like we enjoyed playing for Coach Crop. And I swear to this day, there's not a better high school basketball coach, at least in the state of Missouri. I mean, because he's just so so great. I know he's hadn't got that state championship, but he's been there a lot of times, or had a lot of wins, and just what goes through his mind and the plays he comes up with, and game strategies is just beyond me. It's really impressive.
Yeah, he definitely has a rich history in basketball. Can't wait to dive into that with him. Hope that happens soon. So, tell me about the teams you played on. Like, what was the identity? I'm trying to remember. I mean, it gets fuzzy when you get older, like me. But were you guys kind of a pounded inside kind of team, a guard center team, or were you well rounded? What kind of teams did you have when you played?
I mean, from sophomore year, we had Reed Littrell, Joel Monning, we had some big guys. So it was definitely throw it inside, but we had a lot of guys that could shoot the ball too. But it wasn't get up, run, press. It was play our tempo, slow the game down, play solid defense, make team take a bad shot, rebound, and yeah, get easy baskets.
And I think almost all of his teams have won at a high level. So I'm assuming you guys won at a high level.
Yeah, no, my junior year we went to state, we got third there, and then my senior year we won a district title. We lost in sectionals. Uh, yeah, I definitely can't get put that one on coach. A lot of missed free throws, so
Those tend to be important, but
Yep, yep.
yeah, we had Shelby Meyer in here recently, and after we talked about on air about coaching and things, we talked about how hard it is and how special it is to go all the way to state in any sport. So yes, you've got to have talent. Yes, you've got to work hard, but it feels like sometimes the bounces have to go your way or not, and sometimes that determines a lot. Do you agree with that? Or
Oh yeah, I mean luck's a part of it, and you can create your own to an extent. But yeah, sometimes the ball just bounces the wrong way. Someone has a bad night. Someone's sick. I mean, just yeah, it takes a lot to get there, and then it takes even more to get back.
that's right, and you guys won at a high level every year, and like you said, Coach Crop has done nothing but win at a high level.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've being at Jamestown. I know when I left, my third year when it ended, I left, and that would have been like the fourth or fifth coach I think to leave after his third year there. So they're just constantly rotating in. Kids are learning new systems. Uh, and I hated that. That part was terrible, but you realize how lucky we are here to have, with my sister. She's been the girls' coach for gosh, how long now? And yeah, Coach Crop. I mean, it's incredible.
So, in case any of your former players, when you coached at Jamestown, are watching, what would you say to them about your time there and memories or anything you'd say to those folks?
Oh, I really just appreciate how hard they worked for me. And there's probably times I didn't deserve it. Maybe, I was too short tempered or whatever at time, especially the, first year. And then you kind of start to figure out what kids respond to well. But yeah, it'd probably just be mainly thanks. And I still stay in touch with a few of them, because some of them they're having kids now. We went to some weddings last year. So it really is, I love when we get invited to those things, as much as a lot of people, think it's an honor to, that they're thinking of you.
That shows you made an impact in their lives.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that ultimately, that's what we want coaches to do, right? We'd all love to say we're coaching the next professional athlete, but let's be realistic. Not many people get paid to play a game, but they're all going to get paid to do something in life. And if they think of you in their list of people to include in their wedding, that's got to be a humbling experience.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I not too much of a higher honor than that.
That's right. So I'm glad you brought up your sister. I'd love to get her in here too, but because even before she was this amazing basketball coach, there've been a lot of great basketball teams in Glasgow over the years, boys and girls. And she played on one of my favorite girls teams, probably one of my two favorite girls teams, and they won state. But it was interesting because they were always a good team that year. I think just outside looking in, I was in college where I'd come back and watch them, but man, they peaked at the right time, and I think they kind of made their own breaks, like you said there. Some of those close games leading up to state. Do you remember much about that state run?
Not a whole lot. I would have been like 5 then.
Yeah.
But no, not really. I really can't say a whole lot about it, unfortunately.
Yeah, there's some great players on the team, and it's always dangerous to name people because I'm gonna forget you, and I'm sorry if I forget you, but your sister was on there, so Molly Thompson, so but Stacy Cotman was on that team, Holly, Wright was Forbes was on that team, and Whitney Parks Nordmeyer was on that team, and so many other Alexis Stockhorse, and just that team had a personality, and Coach Reynolds was the coach back then. It was just there wasn't a loose ball on the ground that they weren't gonna contest. I mean, they weren't gonna give anything away to the other team, and I think that's true of a lot of the Glasgow teams. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Just toughness and grit.
Blue collar
Yes.
talent.
Yeah, right. Uh, yeah, I wish I could recall more. The thing from Molly playing that sticks out the most to me is if it wasn't for her injuries, talk about, how far someone can go. She probably could have played Division I basketball.
She was amazing. She had a shot and she'd hustle. Yeah, she was a great player. But you brought up injuries. It does seem like definitely knee injuries, maybe others too, running in the family a little bit. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I might get this a little wrong, but I know Molly 3 ACL
Wow,
tears.
that's a lot.
Yes. Abby 2, Shelby 3 or 2, and obviously they've came a long way now, with that and certain cadavers and whatnot. Cody had 1. Um, I don't know if mom ever tore ACL. She had knee injuries, but yeah, me and Trace and I, the younger brother, have been lucky so far, I guess. But yeah, knock on wood.
Well, let's hope it stays that way. You're
Right.
still a young man, so
Yeah.
and you said your mom was a great athlete too. And I mean, it just stands to reason you were all great athletes. Softball was that one of her big games?
Yep. Softball. And again, I couldn't tell you a whole lot about it because on top of them, when they tell me my recall and that stuff is just terrible. But yeah, I know she played a lot. I remember like Joetta Gephardt talking about my mom and how solid of a softball player she was, and I think there was a whole group of them.
Yeah, man. Your mom's coach. She coached some softball over the years, I think.
Yep. Yeah, it's been a while now, but she coached softball for a long time. I remember going to all those games. And yeah, now it's just track.
So, out of the people in your family, so obviously you, your sister, your mom, anybody else done some coaching?
I think Abby's done some little stuff here, but not anything terrible. Cody was always blue collar. Oh yeah. Just, work, hunt and fish. And Trace is that way. Trace was a great track star. That was, you know, and then now he's in the National Guard. So, he
Appreciate his service too.
yeah, absolutely. And he's not just do it for the free college kind. I mean, he's been at it for 8 years now or something like that. And, he was Warrior of the Year, State of Missouri.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Hard worker, just like the rest of you.
Yeah, he gets after it. But anyways, I went off topic there, but I just wanted to brag on him a little bit. He deserves it.
He does deserve it. So, is there a world, Jay, that exists that you might ever consider coming back and coaching, whether it's volunteering for some teams as your kids get older, or if someone could they ever pry you away into coming back to a school team, even if you weren't full time teaching, doing your other thing on the side? Like, just curious about what you think your future in coaching might look like.
I'm I could do that myself person. So I think at a certain point that might come into play when my daughter is in school. I won't tell someone how to do their job. I'll sit back and watch. But I would consider it depending on where my business is at that point. If it can, halfway function when I'm not there, obviously. That's a big part of it, but I would consider it.
Nice. And I ask every coach that comes through here a similar question to this. Obviously, every parent loves their kid and cares about their kid and probably sees a different version of their kid than maybe coaches do at times. So, have you ever had, or how do you think the right way is to handle conversation where a parent comes up to you as a coach and they're like, my kid doesn't get enough playing time, or they're not playing the right position, and small towns are hard, right? The
Yeah.
politics and all that stuff. I mean, how do you handle that, or how should that be handled in your opinion?
So my kind of rule was I will talk to you about what your kid can do to get more minutes. Um, I'm not going to talk about game strategy, what I'm doing. I'm not going to talk about another player because typically that's what comes up. This player's getting play versus, my kid. Yeah, I just shut that off immediately. And again, I just think you've really got to be pretty firm about it. Otherwise, you just get walked all over. And handle it with honesty is, I'd say, the biggest thing. Just be honest about it.
100%. Yeah, honesty and direct, but you can still do that and be respectful, can you? I mean,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think some people don't grasp that concept. Yeah.
I was at Jamestown, like, blessed with the parents. I mean, I can't. Maybe one conversation or something, and it was like, one of those like, oh, that was the reason. Oh, okay, makes sense. I mean, they were very supportive, and I was very lucky to be there.
Yeah. Now, travel ball is not a new thing per se, but it's really exploded. I don't know if you've noticed that, but like those kids that are and their parents that are really driven for their kids to succeed spend a lot of time all year round playing their sport or sports in an organized way. I don't know how it was when you grew up. When I grew up, it was like, I'm going outside. You'll see me after dark to eat supper. I'm going to the park, whatever. And yeah, we had our occasional show me state teams. We had, American Legion baseball teams or Babe Ruth teams on top of the regular school stuff, and that was fine. But most of how we learned to play the game was school of hard knocks outside. These days, there's so much organized sports. There's a lot of money spent on it. Um, are you somebody that really enjoys and thinks that's a good thing for sports? And do you think the teams are better now than they were 30 years ago when people were just kind of learning on their own out the playground?
Oh, I think they're definitely better. Um, the thing I think maybe you don't see as much of is just the gritty, get down and dirty player that um, doesn't focus on the crowd or the refs or the celebration that he's going to do after his next bucket or something. I feel like you lose a little bit of that, but as far as the talent goes, I mean, even like looking at some of the high schoolers now, I'm like, I couldn't do that. But
Mm.
I mean, it's always hard to admit that to them. Well, yeah, just from 15 years ago. I mean, it's grown tremendously. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a lot more emphasis on conditioning too in some circles. I think, I mean, a lot of people always used to do that, but I think it's more of a requirement than it used to be, perhaps.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, let's say, like you said, they're doing more, and when you're spending money on something too, I mean, yeah, you can get results more than likely.
What would you say about the motivation behind playing the game? I mean, to me, it's always been important. I got nothing wrong with people spending the money, taking the time to play travel ball. It's fun, but it feels like it needs to be the kid's dream and not so much the parents' dream. And I'm not saying I see that a lot, but every once in a while you see a kid that's maybe a little bit dejected or put off or burn out at a young age on a game they used to love. And it's a hard line to know what to push or to let your kid decide where they go with a sport, isn't it?
Yeah, and I'm a new parent, so I don't know the struggle of that. I know that obviously the parents want the best for their kids, but
Absolutely.
I don't. Maybe sometimes I don't ask what the kid actually wants. And I know I've seen plenty of times that they're kind of burnt out in a way from all the traveling. And no, I probably would be. Yeah, so I wish I could give better advice on that, but I don't know what. I think you just sit back and ask your kid, right? I mean,
Gotta keep those channels of communication open.
yeah, is you have 7?
Yeah, yeah. I had to one up your parents. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. I love the big family thing. I know I see like my mom has 4 sisters or something. Dad had like 4 siblings. I'm just kind of those are close numbers. But it almost seems like they don't, stay in touch with a sister or 2 or a brother or 2, but not the whole family. And that is one thing that I love about like Molly, for instance, is she is always finding a reason for us to get together.
Nice.
And when I was younger, I was always like, oh, I have to go to this, I have to go to that. And you learn to appreciate that. And, that way you know, my brother's not going to be a stranger to my kid or, vice versa.
Right. So we talked about how work ethic and coaching and sports and athleticism runs in your family. It definitely seems like in some circles, for what we see down here, the truck driving runs in the family. Did you all grow up with heavy equipment, or did Cody and your dad Joe? Did they just kind of migrate that way on their own, or did you all kind of grow up using tractors and heavy equipment?
Well, no, dad his dad worked for grandpa on the hog farm, hauling for him. And grandpa died when he was younger. I believe he was 60. I was not born yet. So Cody was around my dad, going out there, helping, doing all that. So I think that's where all that came into play. Versus by the time I was getting older, they had shut down operations and stuff. So I never experienced any of that. We had the farm and stuff, but no, outside of riding on a tractor with Cody or something. So I think that's where that line is, why it kind of, stopped right there as far as the heavy equipment, because you probably don't. I mean, I can run something occasionally, but you probably don't want me, me on anything
Me neither.
expensive. Yeah.
So do you get out there and help Cody on the farm some? Does he ever ask you to?
Yeah. Yeah. I've helped I'm a little busier now, but yeah, I ran the auger wagon and whatnot. But again, that's about the extent of what I'm going to be doing. I can run a skid steer and clean out some ditches or something, but that's about it.
I think they have an impressive operation. They farm a lot of acres, don't they?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I mean, you have to be again numbers, but close around 2,000 or more, and just for starting out a few, they've really built something nice, and they're doing very well. Yeah, very
Yeah.
proud of them.
Yeah, both Cody and your dad gave us a lot of good years, and we appreciate everything they did and wish your brother nothing but continued success in farming. So that's an awesome story. Now, with regard to your woodworking, not only this table, but you did a lot of amazing pieces in this building. And we talked about another project for Tammy and I at our house. But what are some of your favorite projects you've worked on? I know you've worked on so many, but if you were to pick, a handful of projects to discuss, what would you talk about?
One would be a guy that builds duck blinds, and he's just south of Chicago. Um, so he wanted an epoxy coffee table, river table. It was the first one I'd ever done. Um, and I did that, but then he also wanted me to if you were looking down from an aerial view, uh, some ducks shapes carved in it. Um, okay, so it didn't have to have the detail of you know, the beak, the head, and everything, but it needed to, taper off and have a little bit of a shape to it or whatever. So that was a fun one, and getting to deliver that to him, uh, all the way, over there. And then, I really enjoyed the walnut built-ins upstairs.
Those are nice.
Yeah, I love that. And obviously that came from inspiration for what, Steph and Easy did for you. And there's one I'm missing that I'm not, I built a white oak table that has a guy at a private lake, and we CNC'd the lake out, and filled it with epoxy. So
That's
generally it's epoxy related. I did do a 5 feet wide by 12 feet wide table, also near the Illinois area, and it was Chicago, Illinois. It was, gosh, I don't know. It took like 5 of us to get it in there, and
has some weight to it.
yeah, it had some weight to it. But yeah, it's usually centered around the tables.
Nice. So woodworking and social media, I assume people in Chicago to find you. Is that how they found you, is through social media? Is it word of mouth? How do you generate most of your business leads?
It started out word of mouth, and then my wife now, girlfriend at the time, created a Facebook page, and then it started going even crazier. And then one thing I've figured out is sometimes you just hire somebody to do something, and Joe Weimer, media person out of Salisbury, he does my media for me now and social media post, all that stuff. And they actually came through him, some of those jobs.
There's some nice looking posts out there.
Yeah, he does a fantastic job, and it's just, you think it's something that's really simple just to create a post, but there's a lot of thought goes into it, and content, and then the picture. Then there's a certain buttons he hits that
God knows she's
all
out.
these ways. You're right. I got the algorithm figured out. Uh, but yeah, I would say the strongest thing has been word of mouth. But because up until probably 2 years ago, I had not really spent a dime on advertising. But now we're getting some higher end clients and stuff, which is nice. Obviously I still try to work for anybody, that wants something done to extend. Sometimes you have to say no to certain things, but yeah, it's been fun.
Well, for the folks listening, how do they find you on social media? Is there any secret sauce to that, or just look up JT's Woodworking? Is that the way to do?
JT's Woodworking, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We have a jtswoodworkingmo.com, have a website. Look on there, and you can put a submission in, and I'll always try to contact that day, or that following morning, and get back with them and get something going.
Recently, the community here in Glasgow went through a tough storm. I think they've decided it was a tornado, right? An EF2. Did that impact you at all, or anybody you care about closely? That
We were really lucky. We're just south here of town, and it seemed like the north part of town was a little worse than the south part. I I had a few limbs down, so I was lucky from that standpoint. And then mom's right in the middle of town, so we go there, and I told her she had a few pots that blew away because she was at school when it was going on, of course. A few flower pots that blew away, and I told her those probably need to blow away anyway. She had too many of them. But yeah, I mean, I had some friends with some trees down, and obviously my brother-in-law Josh cuts trees, so I helped him the following day to just try and stay above water a little, well, as much as we could.
Another tremendous asset for the community. He does a terrific job. He's sprung right into action, like so many folks in Glasgow do. When people are in need, that they tend to help each other. Was that part of what drew you back to Glasgow, a little bit, or
Yeah, because it really is rare to find, that how cleaned up everything is already. I know someone like Aaron Filmer he's still kind of at it a little bit.
another tremendous asset for the community?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I don't think people even realize, like, he's not expecting anything from this. He's not looking for money from anywhere. He's just like, oh, my kids grow up somewhere nice. And, makes me feel a little guilty that I went back to work. But yeah, no, I mean, and well, I don't know if you know this or not, but Josh, we were working next to you and that tree blew over.
Yeah, I heard that.
And yeah, he's got a hole in the roof. So went ahead and took care of that. This is
Very much appreciated. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And that was your uncle lived right next door to that house, right, Ronnie? So they got it pretty bad too, right there. Ronnie did.
Yeah, he had a couple of trees down, and yeah, that one was a big one.
Yeah,
It could have been a lot worse, but
that's what was amazing to me when I got to town and I drove around was with all the damage that there were no serious injuries that I heard of or fatalities. I mean, before we knew it was a tornado, we knew whatever happened was bad.
yeah, yeah, I think we were hit by something, but I think we were also lucky that it never like touched down. It was right there at tree level, obviously, but it never touched down. So I think that it might have been a little different in that case. You see what it did just that high up. If it would have touched, you know, might have been a little different.
That's right. So, do you follow any professional or college sports? Do you have teams you cheer for, or does it not really that important to you? Or
Huge Kansas City Chiefs fan.
nice.
I mentioned basketball as a sport, but now I mean football now is just a sport. I'm obviously a Tiger fan. Unfortunately,
It'd be hard sometimes.
it can be hard. I'm not saying that I watch every game, but I typically know when they're playing, and definitely with football, I always keep up the score in that, and then basketball, I'm kind of in and out, and we try to catch one game a year, but we didn't go this year, but we try to go every now and then because they're a fun little thing to get out and do.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So, does it bother you at all? Some people it does. Some people don't care that the Chiefs are moving across the border into Kansas. They're still in the Kansas City area, still the Kansas City Chiefs. But is that gonna be weird for you, or does it not matter?
It doesn't really matter to me. I don't know. I just for the little bit I read, it seemed like Kansas's offer was like
Hard to say no to.
yeah, almost done for them to say no to. So yeah, I guess I can't really blame them. I'm not gonna not root for them.
It wasn't like the Rams where they left and went to Los Angeles. That was hard.
Well, and they were bad for many years. Maybe I think there was a lot of skepticism that theories that we're saving money in order for this big move.
Yeah, maybe the motivations weren't always as pure as some people want us to believe.
Yeah, and people are paying season tickets for a couple years while they're just planning the next thing.
Yeah, that was always frustrating for me because I feel like St. Louis is a big enough town and a good enough sports town. It's a big darn city. It should have an NFL team. That's the way I feel about it. But
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, my athletic director at Jamestown, he was a huge St. Louis Rams fan, and now he doesn't watch football. Like, I'm done with you.
yeah, they got what is it, the Battlehawks? Is that the team that
Yeah.
plays in the other league? I've watched a few of those games, not this year, but the year before I did, and they were entertaining. And the town, the city really supported them.
Yeah, Abby, she lives in St. Louis, and her husband, they've gone to a few games. They say they're a blast.
I bet they are. Do they still play in the Dome downtown?
I don't know that answer. I couldn't tell you.
Gotcha. So when you said you go to a couple or go to a Mizzou game a year, is that usually basketball or football that you're talking about, or
Basketball
basketball?
most of the time. It seems like with football, I don't know, just the tailgate and everything, and really, I think I would enjoy it. We should probably get out more, but we just, we're kind of homebodies too.
I like the way you think about that. There's something kind of nice about watching a game from your couch, I think.
Yeah, so I've actually never been other than preseason to a Kansas City Chiefs game, and I've had an offer one time just some free tickets, and it was gonna be like 4 degrees out, and it's like, man, this is pretty comfortable from here. So no, but then my wife and I bought some tickets at the auction for Christmas night game this past season. Obviously, you know what was going on by that point.
Right.
So we sold those for a lot less than we paid, and I'll get there eventually.
Yep. So what does your family really enjoy when you're not doing the woodworking thing, or and if there's not a Chiefs game on, like how do you spend your downtime if you get any downtime?
Well, now for the last year and a half, it's all centered around um our daughter, bringing her somewhere, doing something. You know, we have a little 25-acre farm right outside of town here. So typically there's something that we can do that's kind of chores, but a fun thing together. Or we'll go fishing. My wife and I used to go like hunting together quite a bit, but again, now that's I've been lucky I get to still go, you know, and she's stays at home. But those are the main ones I would say. And we enjoy going to church on Sunday, then maybe, you know, we'll go to church in Columbia and go to a different breakfast spot, things like that. We're big foodies.
Nothing wrong with liking food.
Yeah, yeah. We love different restaurants and uh, basically any trip we go on, I try to center it around well, what kind of food's there to eat. So
Do you have a type of food that you kind of seek out?
I like everything. I will try just about anything. I've really grown to love Italian lately. Just the way they cook pizzas and then all the garlic and you know, it's just so fresh and homey feeling. That would be that's probably up there right now. But yeah, big pizza fan. Burgers and fries too though. So pretty flexible.
Can't go wrong with that.
Yeah.
So you said Molly earlier. You were talking about how she does a good job bringing the family together, making sure that everybody sees each other. What kinds of activities will the family do? Does it revolve around food and barbecues and stuff like that, or you guys go on activities? Or
It's mainly uh something to grill, cook, whatever, and then we have 5 I have 5 nephews.
nice,
So there's some sort of game going on outside, whether it's trying to hit one of them with a dodgeball as hard as you can, or you know, playing a baseball or whatever it is. You know, it's always something like that.
that sounds like fun.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's a blast. Like I said, Molly's great about that. We're not gonna grow apart or anything.
Well, that's good. You as you get older, it's tougher. I mean, as the kids start getting older, they get their own activities. Maybe a couple of them move away, a couple towns away. So you've always got to be intentional about that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I never realized it until you just it kind of clicks. It's like, oh, I mean, you know, whenever I see my dad, and again, he had certain brothers he would talk, you know, stay in touch with more than others, and you know, I just don't want that, you know. So yeah, we try to be intentional about that.
Wasn't one of your siblings in Alaska for a period of time?
Still is
Still
Shelby.
is, okay,
Shelby,
Shelby.
yeah. Did I even? I don't think I mentioned her. She's pretty easy to forget. Hopefully she watches. But yeah, no, she runs her own. She's in charge in there over there. It's all like that. She's in social work. She's a therapist.
Nice.
Yeah, she does a lot, and you know, she was the one that was you know just able to move up there by herself. You know, just not no problem whatsoever, and you know now she's has the ability just to find friends. She is very good at that, and she's very good at her job, and yeah, she's always posting stuff of you know going getting crabs, catching halibut. You know, we went up there and visited and went fishing with her, and she's got a boyfriend, has got a boat. And yeah, it was a blast. I mean, she's living a good life up there.
Yeah, I don't think you can live in Alaska without enjoying the great outdoors, and it sounds like she's doing that.
Yeah, yeah, she fishing. She killed a black bear. I know. I don't know what else quite. I know there's a lot of you know a lot of campfires and looking at the views that are everywhere in Alaska. It's very pretty up there. I want to go back, but yeah, I don't know on the fishing part of it. They said it was rough when we were there, but I don't know. Riding in a boat for an hour and a half. getting beat all down and then fishing for a few hours and going back. I could probably skip that part, but that's that side of me.
Catch up with everybody again later.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So tell us about your wood shop. Has that been a progression? Did you start small and over the years you've added to it to what you have now? Or because somewhere out there, somebody's watching this, they're thinking, man, maybe I'd like to get into woodwork at some point. And what would you say to that person about how you get started and how you become successful like you have?
Well, I was lucky, so I think I skipped a step earlier. I lived in a cabin, for calling my grandparents, they're the same as, and I had like, an outdoors undercover mud room. It wasn't heated or cooled or anything, and my, the family farm was being sold, and they were gonna take down the old barn before, so I asked if I go take the wood off there. I was just interested. So my first couple projects were built in a 8 by 15 little room. You know, I
That's the size of that one table you told me. Yeah.
right, yeah, so I had a drill with one of those cords on it, they were making those then, and, a couple clamps and a bad saw, but, from there, it went to, my brother-in-law bought a farm that had actually a wood shop, like, set up on it. It wasn't, 20 by 20, something like that. Um, and then started growing from there, and I was looking for property possibly in town to build a shop, whatever, and then that farm that I was just talking about was sold, came up for sale again, and my wife and I were able to buy it back, and I refinished the shop that was the one that Cody and my dad and grandpa worked out of, which is,
That's cool.
yeah, that's awesome. Refinished it, and then, it is like 1,300 square feet,
Nice.
but now we are adding on, contract's supposed to be here like 2 weeks, and it'd be about 3,000 square feet. So we're looking to grow and maybe add a few people or and see where we go from there.
What you do is so custom and specialized. I don't know how you would keep track of it, but like in galvanizing, we look at pounds, right? And tons throughput through the plant. Like, how do you look at your year or your month or your quarter and measure how you're performing? Is there like how many boards I go through, or is it just how many projects you complete, or how do you judge success every day?
A lot of it is just the gross product, um, that I go through as far as the money goes. Just, if you go through $30,000 worth of materials, hopefully you made, a certain amount on that. Obviously, some months are worse than others. And some projects I've learned, like, I just can't take the time to do that. I've done stuff for, like repeat customers before because they were so good to me, and it's like, you hate to tell someone no, but I have learned it's the hardest thing to do, but you just kind of have to do that some.
Well, you are doing it for a living. I mean,
Yeah, absolutely. And I know doing different things, so many different things may not be the best decision, but it does keep me interested, and I definitely enjoy that part of it.
good deal. So you've got a lot of creativity, obviously, making things like this table and everything you do. Did you excel at art class? Growing up in school, were you always a creative type, or
No, I think that came from YouTube, believe it or not. Just
no kidding?
so many videos. If I'm in my shop, I'll just have my headphones in, and it's playing a video that I'm listening to, and I every now and then kind of, just look over at it if it's getting to something interesting. Just repeat following different people like that, and then obviously, Geezy has been instrumental. I wouldn't be anywhere. So back to your question about advice to a younger woodworker, just go talk to someone who's done it. Ask for their advice. I still ask for his advice to this day, and I would be happy to return the favor because I owe that, to somebody if they were interested. But yeah, I would say he's probably been about one of the number one reason because talking about pricing stuff, I mean, it's like, oh, this
Gotta
should
be hard.
yeah, this should cost 3 times as much according to what he's coming up with. I think I've found that early on, what I struggled with is, charging. If I felt like I didn't really know how to do something and it was going to take me longer, I shouldn't charge for that time. But I've kind of learned that no, they should pay you kind of to learn that, if that makes sense.
It does. I mean, everything you do is it's not like you make 1,000 of these tables. Everything's different,
Yeah.
and it's going to be a learning curve on everything. That's kind of part of what they're buying when they buy your services, I think. But wow. So 6 years ago, the economy changed. I'd like to talk to all business owners about this. This thing called COVID came through, and they literally shut down part of the economy. Afterwards, prices went crazy. How much did prices going crazy affect your job in the woodworking business? Was it even harder to price things? Like, because you might price something at one price, and do you buy this wood right then to lock it in? Or does it change? You're like, oh man, I gotta go back and ask for more money because the price just doubled.
So, yeah, there was a little bit of a struggle there. I can't say it aff I think myself affected me more than COVID. So, I was still kind of building stuff on the side when I was, coaching, and I had some jobs back up. Well, when COVID happened and we weren't in school, I would get my class stuff done in the morning and then go work. But like you said, prices have included I had this list backed up of, jobs that, I had to do and I'd already quoted, and I try not to raise my price. So I would say for the first few months there, I wasn't really making any money. That being said, the wood went up a little bit, but I think hardware was the biggest factor. But luckily, like my supplier called me and said, "Hey, I would get this," and so you just stock up before it gets crazy. So I mean, we were a little fortunate from that part, but there was times like we can't get that for you, and you got to improvise and do something different, use a different plywood, use whatever.
And they couldn't even finish automobiles, right? They had to either not put chits in them or just change what they look like before they came out. And
Yeah, I think Ford at one time was backed up. Like they really didn't know. They couldn't tell you. Um, yeah, it was nuts. I would say if I would have got out a year earlier, it might have been a little scarier for me. But I think um, now a lot of times it seems like because obviously like gas prices are high right now and stuff like that. But I f- I feel pretty good that I'm a little bit past a point where I have to worry too much about that. I always have work, and generally, you work for the right people that sort of those things don't affect them that much, if that makes sense.
do you have any folks that help you out in the shop or help you on installs?
Yeah, right now, Jeff Wyatt, um, he's retired and looking for something to do, and he's great. Yeah, he's a
He's
great.
always got a story too, doesn't he?
Oh yeah, yeah, always got a story. And I've had high school kids in and out, sanding and stuff. One thing I was interested, I was listening to your podcast with Jamie, and I was just curious about because I've always heard like you're just gonna have trouble hiring somebody that wants to stay, and obviously benefits are a struggle, but there are probably certain things I could do to help that. And I don't know, you realize how much that the people you bring in and how they act and perform is a lot on you and the environment you create. But anyways, I just want to give you a shout out for that. That was really interesting.
I appreciate that. And all the words she said. I mean, I've learned the hard way, even though, dad and grandpa were always way better at this than I'd be and Ryan and everybody like that. But you can work really hard to try to establish, probably coaching too, establish the culture you want or teaching, leadership of any kind. And it just takes one moment, you can really destroy a lot of that with just a poor attitude. I know we all get there. We all have bad days, and it's tough sometimes, but it's really important to try not to let that show and to really work on, in my opinion, building the team up instead of tearing them down. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, 100%. And that's definitely what I hope when I get, more serious as far as, I feel like the size of the shop right now, it's just not ideal to have someone in there all the time because it's just too crammed. Um, but I hope I can do that better. Every time I've been around you, you seem to be just even keel. And I hope I can not like get, upset with somebody because they did something wrong. Well, because I didn't explain it well enough. I hope I can, take that part and remember that.
Yeah, and my biggest struggle is usually they didn't even do a thing wrong. So I came to work, maybe I'm having a bad day because I'm in some pain or who knows what, but and I got a personal issue, and they don't deserve to be treated bad because of that. Trust me, I've made all those mistakes, and I'm probably gonna do it again. So I'm sorry in advance, but think the key is trying to recognize in the middle of it and course correct and don't be above apologizing, man. That goes a long way with a lot of people because everybody's gonna make mistakes.
Yeah. And I would say that's one thing I definitely got from my dad is he was never afraid to apologize or say he was wrong or uh, whatever it was. I mean, I really admired that about him and definitely try to, take that.
You bet. I mean, I've got just so much respect not only for your dad, your whole family. I mean, your brother Cody, when he was driving a truck, he went through a tough injury. I mean, you know all about that, and we didn't handle that as well as we should have. We should have been there more for him, especially early on. And I think about the things he went through, and I'm very much in awe of just everything he's overcome, and your sister's overcome with all the knee injuries, and your whole family's overcome a lot. There's something there about perseverance, isn't there?
Yeah. Cody's motor, how it just doesn't shut off. And I wish I had it. I don't have it to that extent. He just goes and goes and he can just go nonstop. And yeah, what he's able to do after, you know, accident here, he had the four-wheeler accident and, you couldn't tell that anything ever happened.
Yeah, he doesn't sit around asking people to feel sorry for him, does he?
No, he does not. Nope. He just keeps on going.
That's right. Well, I want to give all of your potential customers that are listening out there an opportunity to know how to purchase from you. If somebody out there is thinking, man, I got a need in the woodworking space. I want somebody to help me with my kitchen or a table or what have you, something creative. How do they get a hold of you? What's the best way?
They can message me on any social media platform. Um, they can reach our website. I mentioned jtswoodworkingmo.com and put a submission in on there. And I'm out and about a lot too. So don't be afraid to interrupt me at dinner. It's not going to offend me one bit.
That's right. Well, Jay Thompson, you do a fantastic job. You have a remarkable business. You do so much for the company and for the community. And I really enjoy visiting with you and enjoy your whole family. You guys have been a blessing.
Well, thanks. I had a blast.
Yeah, appreciate you. Yeah.
Thank you for watching Hot Dipped. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click on that notification bell for future episodes.